Guys, nihilism. Because the majority of you are American, I'm gonna assume you have no idea what that means. Nihilism is the rejection of all religious and moral principles, in the belief that life is meaningless. Basically, an emo person. And to no one does this apply to more than Ulquiorra. Welcome back to Through Villainous Eyes, the series where I aim to look at the story through the POV of a particular villain in that story and see whether the rationale for their actions is valid. And also, to see if it's hilarious. This time starring Bleach's Quattro Espada, Ulquiorra Cifer, Cifer, I don't know how to say his name. But first y'all, before we get into breaking down the most emo person I think I've ever seen put to page, do something for me. Like the video, okay? That's very important. Subscribe to the channel for more anime content just like this every week. Doing all sorts of anime content on here. This is my first Bleach one. And share it around with all your friends who love the series. You know what we always say here, let's get it going. And make sure you subscribe to me and my boys over at CSY. We're really pushing to 10K, y'all. So, imagine you're Ulquiorra. You were born as a hollow, the only white thing in an area where everything and everyone else was black. A reverse PWI, if you will. Seeking for a way out of the reverse PWI, you start wandering the sands of Hueco Mundo, completely alone. Being alone reinforces in your mind the idea that your eyes are the center of the universe. What you can see, you deem it as meaningless. And what you can't see, doesn't exist. Basically, the start of your emo journey. You end up sinking into a tree with thorns sharp enough to break open your hollow mask, which allows you to become an Arankar in the first place. Then sometime after that, a mysterious man with the wildest slick-back hair you've ever seen comes to you and tries to recruit you for his whitened Akatsuki. As established, you have absolutely nothing to do, so you decide to join him. At some point, you're sent to Karakura Town along with your colleague, Shaquille O'Neal. Shaq says he's not excited to be there, but you tell him to shut up because he's the one who begged to tag along. As Shaq sucks the soul out of some weak humans, pause, you note that you guys are only here to kill one person, namely Ichigo Kurosaki, so you can leave everybody else alone. Remember, it's not because you have sympathy to any of these people, but rather you care so little about their existence that they may as well be non-existent in your sphere of focus. At that moment, a Mexican boxer and a girl who can't possibly be in high school pull up to run the fade, trying to protect the people. However, you see them as trash, so of course you allow Shaq to completely devastate the Mexican boxer. And the same is about to happen to the girl when she protects herself with a mysterious power that you analyze to actually be time reversal, not just some basic healing magic. Which, side note, is an insanely casual way to drop a very broken power in the series. I remember reading that being gobsmacked, but Kubo was just like, yeah, so she can reverse time, what about it? The girl tries to attack you, but Shaq easily blocks it, so you tell him to just kill her so you can move on. But that's when your target, Ichigo, pulls up to put a stop to it all. He immediately slices off Shaq's arm, surprising you a little bit, before they continue fighting. As you fight, you notice that Shaq is just way too reckless, so of course there's no way he's gonna win at this current power level. You even offer to switch places with him out of the goodness of your heart. What absolute little of it there is in there. But most importantly from this section, you realize that the boy Ichigo Kurosaki is of no threat to your master. Shaq moves to attack Ichigo again, but this time he's saved by Kakashi in a bucket hat and Catwoman. Catwoman puts paws, no pun intended, on Shaq, and he still wants to fight, so he turns and squares up with Bucket Hat Kakashi. But that's when you've had enough, so you just check him in the stomach and it's like, yo, it's time to go. Catwoman tries to draw you back in, but the rage bait ends up being unsuccessful. You explain that you could decimate the two of them very easily, especially because they're focused on protecting everybody else. With your mission over, as you leave, you decide that you're gonna tell Lord Aizen that the one that he was interested in is nothing more than trash. As you get back to the crib, you're greeted by Lord Aizen himself. Instead of explaining the mission, like most other normal people would, you take out your eyeball, crush it into dust, and the dust swirls to form movies of your memories. I'm not gonna lie, I completely forgot that Ulquiorra had this ability. What the hell was Kubo smoking? But essentially, you tell Lord Aizen, yeah, Ichigo was pretty trash, and Lord Aizen even understands why you didn't kill him. Then this talk is disrupted by another one of your colleagues, the White Panther. White Panther disagrees with your actions, stating that regardless of their strength, they are the enemies, so you just should have destroyed them completely. But you explain that while Ichigo is weak right now, his growth rate is truly immeasurable. However, that growth rate is so high that it makes him unstable, meaning Ichigo will either end up basically imploding upon himself, or will end up as a pawn to them. And at the end of the day, you're still confident that even if he does manage to get a grasp on his power, you're still gonna easily be able to decimate him. Yeah, we'll see about that. White Panther keeps yapping on, but Lord Aizen brushes him off and congratulates you. And you'd think that you'd feel something like happiness for this. No. 1 month later, you arrive to see Shaq's arm being reattached. The two of you talk it out with everything that's happening, and Shaq says that he wishes his arm could regrow the way that your eyes do. You tell him, look, you better just be happy that you could get your arm reattached at all. Because if it had been completely destroyed like that idiot, the White Panthers, you would have been kicked out of the White Akatsuki as well. Remembering, of course, that in the interim of that 1 month is when Grimmjow had taken his squad to go and fix Ulquiorra's mistake. But of course he failed, so he got his arm sliced off and got fired. You then had to meet up with a few other colleagues as you all bear witness to the creation of a new Arrancar, Wonder Weiss, the Crash Out Kid. Aizen then looks at you and tells you to complete the next goal, the capturing of the girl who can't possibly be in high school, from here on out referred to as the girl. You send a squad of Shaq, White Panther, the Crash Out Kid, and one other member, all to go and deal with all the people in Karakura, basically to just distract them all while you actually ambush her and capture her. You tell the girl that she has absolutely no rights, crazy in the 21st century, and she will have to follow you because if she doesn't, you will kill all of her friends. She has an amazing power. Lord Aizen wants that power. Therefore, she belongs to him now. Again, that's not something that we can say in our current day and age. Later, you stop White Panther from unleashing his Zanpakuto, saying, yo, the mission's over. Let's dip. And by the way, your work rate is 10 out of 10. You actually may be Aizen's most efficient subordinate. Since you're successfully able to threaten the girl, she chooses to come peacefully. You then allow her to say goodbye to one person and one person only, making it appear as though she had betrayed them of her own volition, as opposed to, getting kidnapped. You bring the girl to Lord Aizen, who has her show off her power by restoring White Panther's arm. This allows White Panther to attack Luffy, kill him, and regain his place in the White Akatsuki. You then attend the White Akatsuki's Aura meeting, the meeting where everyone was just firing off aura in every angle possible. At that moment, Lord Aizen walks in and he warns you about the intruders. He states that alongside the girl, Ichigo, the Mexican boxer, and Hawkeye's nephew were able to invade the Soul Society completely alone and cause hella havoc. You then go to the girl in her room and inform her that her friends have come to save her. But because you're sadistic, of course you're just like, well, naturally, this should mean absolutely nothing to you. In body and in mind, you are Lord Aizen's. You are now one of us. Now as you head to leave the room, you're stopped by Noitora, aka Kenpachi if he was an Arrancar. Arrancar Kenpachi asks how the taming of the shrew is going, but you just say, listen, everything is going according to Lord Aizen's plan. Mind you, the whole psychological trauma part was not at all necessary. They were of course banking on just their physical strength being enough to restrain her there, but the psychological trauma, that was all just Aizen's mind games. Later on, you go back to the girl and you tell her, I bet you sense that the Mexican boxer was defeated. You try to get her to eat because obviously you want her to be at peak strength for whenever Lord Aizen may need her. Like, come on, that's just natural. But she just keeps on refusing and screaming that the Mexican boxer ain't dead. You say, of course, this doesn't matter because sooner or later, all of her idiot friends will die. But then at that moment, she runs over and slaps you, like just straight across the face. Now in this moment, you have absolutely no idea what to do, but you don't retaliate. You don't attack her in any way. You just leave and say you'll be back in an hour. And if she hasn't eaten by then, you will strap her down and force the food down her throat. Again, just a natural solution, really. Now, stepping out of the character for a moment, a lot of people actually wonder why Ulquiorra acted the way he did in this moment, when almost every other Arrancar in his situation definitely would have retaliated. And I don't think it's just because Aizen didn't want her to be harmed. While that's true, we know that he gave Ulquiorra enough distinction to make choices of his own. I genuinely think it's just because of his nihilistic view of, well, everything. This encounter has no meaning to him. He feels no emotions about it. So there was no reason for him to crash out as most other people would, because he doesn't feel any of the feelings to lead him to crash out. Honestly, a pretty interesting way to write a character. Later on, you encounter the boy Ichigo running through the castle like a rat with the ratter's traitor, Nelliel. Did I say the ratterous traitor instead of the traitorous rat? Yes, I did, but it's staying. You tell him that Rukia Kuchiki is dead, but he doesn't believe you, so he just starts running off in a different direction. You wonder if he really thinks that he can just afford to let you be. But interestingly, Ichigo's just like, well, you haven't attacked any of my friends. I don't have a reason to fight you. I just need to go fight the people who did. That's when you reveal, well, about that, I'm the one who captured your little friend and brought her here, which forces him into a rage like you've never seen as he begins to fight you. Now Ichigo fights not only with his Bankai, but also with a hollow mask, which you're kind of surprised about, but still you manage to stop all of his attacks. Ichigo fights back hard, even though obviously this is nothing to you. You ask him to give up and he just says hell no, reasoning that because you're so strong and you must be the strongest member of the White Akatsuki, if he can beat you, everyone else will be easy. And that's when you reveal, in a very cold panel might I add, that you are in fact the Quattro Espada, the 4th ranked, stating that he cannot even dream to hope to defeat you. But even if by some miracle he did, there are still 3 whole people much stronger than you. Then you leave Ichigo fatally wounded on the ground, stating that the journey is over for him and his friends before you turn and return to the girls' room. However, as you get to the girls' room, you see that she's gone. The room is completely trashed and you're like, okay, what the hell is going on here? Learning that White Panther is the one who took her, you track them down easily, and you see that White Panther is having the girl heal Ichigo. Seeing it, of course, as obvious treason, you fight White Panther for a bit, but he's able to capture you in the Kamui dimension for a little while. Later on, Aizen leaves for the human world with his top subordinates and the top 3 Espada, leaving Hueco Mundo in your hands just as you're able to breach through the Kamui dimension and return to this one. Very tough panel. And as you stand before the girl, you just can't understand it. Why are you doing all of this? Why is she holding out hope? So you ask her the single question that frames your entire character. What is a heart? What does it mean to have a heart? But at that moment, Ichigo returns, ready to fight, and so begins Bleach's greatest battle, Ulquiorra versus Ichigo, which will be covered in another video. Not only because that battle itself is long and this video is already long enough, but also because it's very impactful. It demands a more serious tone that warrants a video of its own. But at the end of that fight, Ulquiorra just starts to understand what a heart truly is. And then, as he reaches out his hand, dies. So that's a story. In my opinion, Ulquiorra is actually a really interesting take on a villain because he's supposed to be written continuously as objectively as possible. And that objectiveness made him incredibly efficient. I mean, it makes sense if you think about it. If you keep everything to the facts and never sweat the small stuff, you will literally never waste time. And you know what? For someone who is portrayed as an emo loner, I think that that's a good enough lesson for people to take away. But I want to hear your opinions. What do you think about Ulquiorra's character arc? Is he Bleach's 2nd best villain? Obviously, he can't be the best because Aizen exists. And are you excited for the Ichigo versus Ulquiorra analysis? Let me know all that great stuff and more in the comments below. That is the end of the video, y'all, but before we go, like it, subscribe, and share it around with all your friends who love the series, or anime and manga in general. As I always say, trying to build a community here, but I need your help to do it. That's all from me. I'll catch you on the next one, and always remember, Bankai! I know Bleach gets a lot of flack in the anime space, but genuinely, this is a great show. And also, side note, this is the last time you're seeing this. I'm actually recording this early. This is going to be posted a week from now. All because I'm heading back to school, y'all. Senior year of college. Let's do this.